You are listening to the Space-Tastic Mysteries podcast. We are continuing Anna Gale Line's first novel in the Jaguar and Peacock series, Who Killed Ben? Federal agent and seasoned SpaceVessel Commander, Jessa Strazzer, emerges from the wreckage of a devastating accident that claimed the life of her beloved husband, Ben. Returning to her duties with a heavy heart, she grapples with grief and unanswered questions, determined to uncover the truth behind the tragedy that shattered her world. As Jessa sifts through the remnants of her past life, she stumbles upon a mysterious box of items left behind by Ben. Within its depths lies a chilling revelation: the accident that claimed Ben's life was no mere mishap, but a deliberate act of sabotage. As they follow a trail of clues that leads them ever closer to the truth, Jessa and Nate find themselves confronting dark secrets and powerful adversaries hell-bent on keeping the truth buried. With danger lurking around every corner and time running out, they must race against the clock to expose the sinister forces at play before they become the next targets. This is episode 13, The Visitor. If you have not subscribed, do so now, and if you are on YouTube, hit the bell to be notified of new episodes.
My eyes opened slowly. My body ached. I looked around at the room, noting the 2 single beds, heart monitors and 4 stands. The hospital. For a brief hazy moment, I couldn't remember how I got there. When I felt my hand and my leg throb, the night maneuvers started flooding back. The compound. Luke Hayden. The laboratory. The door flew open to my hospital room. General Graham smiled at my leg in traction, carrying a bouquet of roses. "You gave us quite a scare." He set the roses on the nightstand. "You lost so much blood that you went into shock." My eyes fell upon Nate, who was asleep in a chair in the corner. I noticed the white bandage covering my hand, vividly recalling the scene in the lab. "He saved my life, Graham." "Peek, that's not the way Sabrina Stetson and Nate tell it." He pulled a chair up to my bed and sat down. "They said that you were holding your own against Luke Hayden and Troy Jensen. They just assisted in capturing them. If I had listened to Nate and not gone to Bravo 8. I let my voice trail off. I studied his reaction before proceeding. Graham's features were soft, almost jovial. "I know I promised you I wouldn't take any unnecessary risks." He looked up and gave me a bright smile, leaning forward with his elbows resting on his knees. "Then we wouldn't have caught the creators of the RY-987 weapon and shut down their operation. And we would be mourning the lives of thousands of people. We stopped them in time. That's all that counts, right?" I heard the words coming out of my mouth. In my heart, though, I didn't believe them. I shouldn't have trusted Luke Hayden. I let my friendship with him cloud my judgment. I couldn't see him for what he was, a traitor. Exactly. He jumped up from his seat, hitting his balding forehead with his palm. "I almost forgot, the president wants to honor you, Nate and Sabrina, at the White House after you are fully recovered. And you have until then to become excited about it. That's an order." I turned to see Graham twisting the doorknob. "I'll be back in a few weeks." "You'll be back before that," Graham responded, facing me. "We are moving you to the Liberty's infirmary this afternoon. The Liberty will continue her mission, and with the overseer, you will command her from your hospital bed." I gave him a grateful smile. "But do take your time." He returned my smile. "I need my top agents in good shape." "Thanks, Graham." He walked out the door, and I turned my attention back to Nate. "I'm so sorry," I whispered to the sleeping form. "You ought to be," Nate remarked, stretching his arms above his head. "Thanks to you. I have been sleeping in this chair for days. Do you know how uncomfortable it is?" I shook my head. He walked over to my bed and sat on the edge. He looked me in the eye. "You never have been, nor will you ever be, an obligation to me. Don't you know how much you mean to me?" I almost cried when I saw the hurt expression on his face. "I picked that fight with you on purpose." I turned my head away from him. "I'm sorry." He put his hand under my chin and gently turned my face toward him. Now why would you do that? The short answer is that if you knew that I was meeting Luke, you might stop me. And the long answer? I know that I started, pointing between us, that we aren't disgracing Ben's memory, but part of me keeps screaming, it's too soon. He laughed. At my horrified look, he took my hand in his. Part of me has been screaming that too. I looked at him, wondering what he must have thought when I gave him back his ring. I didn't want to. I ached inside, knowing that I hurt him. I loved him so much. Just staring at my partner with his unkempt hair and black circles under his eyes, my heart still ached for him. I am sorry I didn't tell you what I had planned. Again, his face clouded with hurt. That's the first time in the entire time we've been partners. I know, I said in a hushed tone. I gazed deeply into his eyes, almost as if searching them for clues to what he was thinking. I usually could tell what was on his mind just by looking at his face. But not right now. He seemed to be hiding something from me. This time it was personal. I had to know who killed my husband. The guilt was overtaking me, guilt for loving you, guilt for him dying instead of me, and guilt that maybe, just maybe, I was the reason he was dead. I shook loose of his hand and dropped my head into my hands. I softly questioned, why didn't I die that night instead of him? Nate repositioned himself, so he could ease his arms around me. Because Ben had always been the intended victim, he told me in a soothing voice. When Luke, Daryl, and the other man, who were discussing the weapon plans, found out that Ben overheard them, Luke volunteered to take him out. I raised my head out of my hands and gave Nate a terrified look. Luke killed Ben? Because of me, right? I shook my head. How could I ever live with myself knowing that Ben died because of my ex-boyfriend? Nate nodded. He wanted you back, and getting Ben out of the way was the only way to do that. If I had just said goodbye to the guy, none of this would have happened, I mumbled, tears flowing down my face. If I hadn't panicked when I saw that ring. You almost married that creep, Nate demanded a little too loudly, his eyes widened incredulously. No, I never gave him a chance, I declared, taking his hand in mine. We were supposed to meet in the park to say goodbye. I was leaving for the academy. But when I saw him with that ring, I knew it would come down to a choice between him and the academy. You ran away? I find that hard to believe. I've never seen you run away from anything. He stroked my hand with his thumb, then he leaned over and kissed my lips. Except your father. I always run in the matters of the heart. That was Ben's department, I confessed. I can do battle with the best Crimson Fleet agents, take down the fiercest enemy, but saying, I love you, sends me into a cold sweat. I disappeared for a week when I was engaged to Ben. Am I always going to have to live in the shadows of the great Ben? Nate asked, his voice gentle and full of hidden pain. All I've heard all my life is how great he is. Why can't you be as smart as Ben? Why don't you get married like Ben? Why don't you have children like Ben? I didn't know whether to be angry or to comfort him. I vacillated between the two options for a few seconds. But when he peered up at me with that puppy dog look in his eyes, I cradled his face in my hands. You are not living in the shadows of Ben, at least not to me. I will always love Ben, that's true. He taught me how to love, to trust, what it means to be loved unconditionally, and how to be a real family. I just stared at him for a moment, my mouth broke into a big smile. But you and I are connected on so many levels that Ben and I weren't. You are my partner, the man who taught me to be one of the best agents in the business and to be a part of a team. The man who encouraged me to go with my instincts. I could be in trouble across the universe, and I know you would come rescue me. We've taken bullets for each other on countless occasions. Seen the inside of hospital rooms more times than we'd like to admit. I ran my fingers through his short, black hair. You are my best friend, I can always talk to you no matter what I am feeling. Somehow you know exactly how I feel. You share my love of solving mysteries, adventure, and my love for Reggie and Joey and even Colin. You can read my face like a book. And now we are, more than friends, we are in love. Yes, we are. He touched his lips to mine. I remember the first time I realized I was in love with you. We spent so many nights, talking and laughing, after the car wreck. I knew that I felt more than friendship for you. I couldn't get you off my mind. But when I walked in and saw you take your first steps again, I knew my feelings for you were genuine and getting stronger. I couldn't get you off my mind either. I thought about you constantly, and I felt myself looking forward to you coming to see me every night. But I didn't know until you walked in one night, overloaded with case files and pizza, and said, "That's enough loafing around, I need your help on these files. And if you won't come to the files, I am going to bring them to you." We both giggled. Then Nate reached into his pocket and pulled out the ring. "Peacock, will you do me the honor of being my wife?" My eyes shimmered with tears. I said, "Yes, once, didn't I?" He slipped the ring back on my finger. He kissed me deeply. I returned his kiss, resting my hand on his chest. I felt disappointed when he broke away. "Do you think that we should keep our marriage a secret?" he asked, tracing my jawline with his fingers. "Say no more. I'll take care of it. I won't let my best team be split up." The transmission ended rather abruptly. Nate and I exchanged glances and started laughing until tears streamed down both our faces. 2 months later. I straightened the diamond tiara on my head. Sitting in front of my vanity, I stared at myself in the mirror. I wore a beautiful, Victorian-collared, white silk wedding gown. I couldn't believe that I was getting married again. And to Nate, no doubt. Just then, in the mirror's reflection, I saw a man place a bassinet on the couch behind me and then walk toward me. "Ben," I cried out, picked up my dress and marched over to him. I threw my arms around him. "I've missed you so much." Pulling away from the embrace a moment, I asked, "What are you doing here?" "You are dead." I walked away from him, combing my fingers through my dark hair. "Since you are dead, this is probably a dream." "You are even an agent in your dreams," Ben commented, turning me back toward him. "You know, I always wondered what you dreamed about, Angel, and now here I am." He pulled me into his arms, hugging me tightly. "Have I told you how beautiful you are in that dress, Angel?" "I am so sorry." I laid my head on his shoulder and sobbed. "Sorry? Sorry for what?" "For causing your death. If I had just said goodbye to Luke, you wouldn't be dead. I am sorry for falling for Nate so soon. I am just sorry. Luke was paid to kill me. He was never one of the original 3 in the lab that day," he explained, moving my hair back. He fingered my scar. I jerked my head up. "Who paid him off?" "Everything you need to know is in my logs. But you need to know by tomorrow because he will try and stop the wedding." I just stared at Ben. I didn't know quite what to think. Why would Ben be telling me all this? Why was I even dreaming of Ben when I was going to marry Nate tomorrow? Stop the wedding? He led me to the vanity and gestured for me to sit down. As I did, he sat on the edge of the vanity. He took my hands in his and smiled. "Don't feel guilty about loving Nate. You two deserve to be happy. But, it's too soon." "Who says it's too soon?" "I certainly don't." "And I would be the injured party, right?" he reassured me, bringing my hand up to his mouth to kiss it. "I know that you love me and always will. And I love you too, but you need to move on. You need to love again. Just because you love Nate doesn't mean that you love me any less." He squeezed my hand. "In fact, Angel, Nate is the man I would have chosen for you. You and Nate have always been great friends. And I know that you and Reggie will be taken care of. Not that you can't take care of yourself and Reggie." I watched Ben, then my lips inched into a smile. "I know what you mean." Ben glanced back at the bundle he set on the couch. "There's someone I want you to meet," he said, a touch of excitement in his voice. His eyes beamed. He walked over to the couch, picked up the bassinet and approached me again. "Angel, I want you to meet our son, Joshua Benjamin Masters. He was so cute that I decided to raise him myself in heaven. After all, you and Nate will have others. Tears formed in my already red eyes. He was so tiny. Dark hair. Roman nose. Fair complexion. He looked just like Ben. Can I hold him? Ben picked the baby up out of the bassinet and placed the baby in my arms. The tears flowed more rapidly. Some even dropped on the baby. Sweetie, I am your mama, but you probably know that, I whispered to the baby, whose eyes looked up at me. He peered at me as though he knew me all his life. I love you, Joshua. I love you so much, I maintained. He reached out his little hand to me. I let him curl his hand around my finger. Angel, it's time for us to go, Ben interrupted my time with Joshua, reaching over to take him from me. Couldn't you stay and just hang out with me tonight? He hesitated before sitting on the couch and putting the baby back in the bassinet, which he set next to him. He draped his arm on the back of the couch. I sat down, folding my legs beside me. Resting my head on his shoulder, I closed my eyes.